So Diafault's lonely, folks. Diafault has no friends. And she's like the only person her age here on the ship, but she's still lonely, right? So Diafault built a gamer space, in the Flavor Town where she spends some time doing public gaming versus private gaming. You know, when she's up in her room gaming, that's private gaming, and that's just for her. But when she's down in the gamer space, this is public gaming, and anybody can join, and it's just an open invitation that you can just come in and game with her when she's in the gamer space, the public gamer space. So Diabolt's currently in the public gamer space, just chilling out, secretly hoping that somebody comes and hangs out with her and plays games with her. Nobody's done it yet. Maybe she should put up a big sign that says, please, for the love of God. But for right now, she hasn't sunk to that level of, please, 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 for the love of God, hang out with me, I'm so lonely. And is hoping the fish comes to her. We'll see how that works out for her. I've just bullied Alice into doing it, though, so we already know how it's going to happen. Anyway, so she's in the gamer space. She's playing a game. She's playing basically Mech Warrior. So, yeah. So, there you go.
So, like, I think I'm assuming she's got, like, sound on, right?
Yeah, she's got headphones on, so you can't hear it, but, like, there's enough, like, you can still kind of feel the vibrations, right? It's loud enough.
So, Lyra, like, takes frequent runs and jaunts through the station to kind of keep herself active and stop from being sedentary. And, I feel like she comes by this place, you know, there's no, like, locked door or anything.
No, it's completely open. Oh, there are flashing lights. Like, she can't shield that, right? So you can at least see
so, like, she catches the flashing lights. She wouldn't care, because this kind of, like, thing is kind of foreign to her in a way. But I think she sees the hood that's so obviously a mech, and just kind of, like, stops up short, like, curious despite herself, and kind of stealths in until she's, like, right behind Diafault.
Diafault's so immersed in her gaming that she is not initially going to notice that Lyra has joined her in her gaming space. Yeah, she's playing Mech Warrior. She's piloting a Mad Cat because I told you I was never going to play a Jenner ever, and I meant it. Fuck you. So... No, there aren't even any Jenners on the other side. That's how anti-Jenner I am.
So mean to the J7D. So eventually, I think at one point, without any preamble, like, Lyra just kind of is like leaned over her head before saying anything. It's just like, this is a very strange simulation.
Diafault startles a bit at that, but then looks up at Lyra and grins at her. Strange? I mean, it's basically what we do. It's kind of fun. It's got its own different story. There's these clans, and we're fighting. We're in this urban area right now, and, you know, we're on this map where it's actually set in the town where the people who made this game live. And so if you want, I can actually have a non-standard game over right now. I can go over to the building. They put the building they worked from in the game, and I can blow it up. And if you do, you get a non-standard game over in this game, and it's really funny. Do you want to see it? Hey, I've had a seat.
I think she just kind of, like, she opens her mouth, like, kind of confused, but then, like, kind of nods, like, I think so? I don't know what this means, but
oh,
okay,
I threw a bunch of terms. I threw a bunch of terms at you. That's right. You're not a gamer. Okay, I'll explain it. And she starts piloting the fox over to the building. A non-standard game over is a special ending that developers of video games put in games when the player, to reward, so to speak, the player for doing something unexpected, but expected enough that they actually, you know, put a little bit in there as a treat. So in this case,
so it's like a riddle.
Yeah, it's like a riddle. It's like a reward for thinking outside the box, right? So in this case, they decided to, as a joke, as a reference, put their own office building that they worked from in this game. And then they thought, well, what if somebody actually finds it and finds a reference and then blows it up? What would we do? Here it is, by the way. Here's the building, and then she starts shooting it. Well, here's what they decided happens. And then, like, after a bit, she just hits it with a bunch of missiles, and the building blows up, and you get, like, the game over screen. So that's a non-standard game over. You blew up the thing that created the game, and so the game can't exist anymore. And I think it's clever. Anyway, hi, Lyra. How's it going? I'm going to restart now.
So Lyra, like, watches you actually, like, get the standard, like, I think it was MechWarrior 2, like...
Yeah, that's MechWarrior 2.
Non-standard, non-standard, game over. But which is, of course, by the way, like, one of my favorite examples that I've heard of people doing that. And then she just kind of, like, the whole time she looks kind of perplexed. And as soon as you get that game over, it kicks you back to sort of the main menu. She just kind of, like... But I'm not understanding one thing, and maybe you are helping me.
Mm-hmm.
So, perhaps you have run into the problem I have. So, this is not a very good simulator, because it is, well, she just like the sort of like the gaming setup you have. It's not exactly a cockpit, no? And, which I understand. My own attempts to find such thing is frustrated at the moment. But what I don't understand, because when you say game, I think of old training games, which, of course, we weren't really supposed to be doing because, exile, but we did anyway because, of course, we did. And these things had a point, but this one doesn't seem to be. How do I say it? It doesn't seem to fit because it's not a real simulator. It's more of a... I do not know the word for it.
It's a game, Lyra. It's a game. Yeah, there is a point to it, Lyra. It's to have fun. This is for entertainment. It's not actually here to train us to be mech, like, pilots fighting other mechs. It's just, like, escapism for fun. Also, like, and, like, I don't know what you mean by it's not a cockpit here. I can't, like, they don't quite have the camera where you can look in because they were lazy and you can act, like, there's only, like, a seat and a bit here and there's nothing behind it.
Have you never been in True Simulator?
No. Here, but look at this. So you see how this camera angle actually shows you a lot of the cockpit. Like, it's not a bad approximation of a cockpit.
It is not, but going back to the other thing, how did you learn to ride mech?
From the games. I mean, it still works the same. I modified my mech to run off of a video game controller, and I just run it like as if I'm running in a video game. Actually, do you want to play, or do you want me to show you?
I'm actually do? Like, the idea of someone learning how to drive a mech without a simulator, like, is just the fucking weirdest thing she's ever heard. So yeah, she'll actually take the controller and she will accept.
Yeah, so Diafault hands you the controller to play the game with. It is like, she's sweaty. Okay, so this is one of those, actual Raptor, like, grip controllers with the buttons on the top that you can move around and it moves the mech. It's not a mouse and keyboard. She actually has a controller. Though at this point she will say, now if this isn't to your liking, this is like an actual, like, sweaty, she'll actually use the term sweaty, like, gamer controller for high effort gaming.
No,
but if you would just, like, if you want to be...
It is quite clean.
Oh, yeah, but if you...
It is quite clean. No sweatiness. Now, you see, it does remind me, and she kind of, like, picks the thing up and looks like it. Like, it does seem kind of remind me of old, what did they call them? They were agri-mechs. Anyway, it doesn't matter. And she will actually like, just, like, jump into it as best she can. Just hitting those sort of, like, replay last mission thing.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna actually roll a d20 and see how well she does.
Go ahead.
So...
I don't know what kind of skill this would be. We're actually gonna do mechanics. I guess show off? I don't know if you have show off, but yeah, go on.
Actually, odds are evens for her doing...
Ooh, gosh. I always pick evens.
Okay. So 15. So she actually does okay.
Alright.
It takes her a bit. Like, the fact that the mech moves and she can't feel it in her actual feet is really disorienting, and you can tell she's trying to move with the screen
Mm-hmm.
awkwardly, like a fucking boomer.
This
But
rules.
eventually she gets enough to be able to play, and like plays through the mission and finishes it, and just kind of hums to herself, hands the controller back, and just kind of like keeps looking at the screen.
Yeah. Oh.
I I am kind of understanding.
Yeah.
Like, no, I mean, I understand game, right?
Mm-hmm.
I understand the games. I understand recreation, but I do not know how I feel about mech combat as a game. It is not as if it is not fun, and she actually does like little like quotation marks at the end. Like fun in a sense that's like, you know, the exhilaration of the knife dance of life and death and
Head
glory and
tilt
song.
as you're talking. Keep going.
It makes sense, you know, like to live on the edge is fun in the sense that one's adrenaline is running. It is like a river in one's mind. But when I think of fun, I do not think of mechs.
Hmm.
I think mostly of alcohol and then she kind of like gets this weird look in her face. Like Diafault would notice there's like a really weird look she probably has not seen before. Because she's used to like weirdly performative, like horny drunk Lyra, and this is a sober Lyra. It's look she looks kind of sad, but in like a uncomfortable way.
Mm. Right,
It's like I think of, you know, like riddling with septimates.
What?
Did you never play the riddle games?
No, what is a riddle game? Also, if you like alcohol, there was this game called Cook Serve Delicious where you work on a line and you make like food for people. And somebody spun off that game into a bartending game called Tip the Bartender. And here it is. You just make drinks. You just make drinks and serve them to people. People demand these drinks and you make the drinks they ask for if you like alcohol. Here's a game about alcohol. She hands you over Tip the Bartender, where it's just eat, serve, deliver, right? But you're making bar drinks instead. While you're talking. But do explain this thing that you said to me.
But you know what the riddle is, correct?
I do know what a riddle is.
It is like, I have one. I remember one from when I was a child. No chest or box is now discussed. Money can't be held in it. But just as we test its metal, within it there is rust. Come on. You must think of it sideways. Come on.
So it's like the container. It promises
you were there.
that you're going to get something good because it looks cool. But you open the container and actually it sucks in there. Is that what you're saying?
So, I understand the way your mind is going, but she taps her temple. The thing you think too literally. The answer is trust. It's a play on words with metal, but as we test its metal as its merit, it's not a chest or a box, but you can hold the money in trust. And you test the metal of a trust of one's comrade. Yeah,
sure.
See, it's a kind of puzzle. I'm surprised. It is. When I was a child, before we were exiled, it was the game that we played. It was when we were not in training, when we were not when we were not, you know, testing our mind, testing our strength. We were not running about. We would lay around, you know, in 0G, and the sort of relaxation parts of the station of the ship that was home, and we would riddle at each other for hours.
That sounds kind of fun. I like it. It's like a metaphor to me, not a riddle. I see why I'm missing the point. Sorry, continue.
Yes, it is kind of like that. So, it is strange to me to think of piloting a mech as fun.
Hmm.
It is fulfilling. It is exciting. But I think of fun as something that is not quite so. And she sort of shrugs.
Was it the social aspect? Like Diafault perks up. Was it the social aspect of you chilling out with your fellow clanners, just shooting the shit? Because let me tell you, we got a solution for that here. She puts a headset on you and pulls down the mic. I'm about to introduce you to TeamSpeak, Lyra. But do keep talking. But also, they can hear you now. Who's they? Well, we'll find out.
But so you ride into battle with people you do not know.
Mm-hmm. Well, I know you.
Before she looked confused,
and out here,
she just looks
I mean, I know them, and yeah, I mean, I'm in a like several clans and guilds, and I have ults and stuff. Hi, everybody, it's Diafault, by the way, and there's just like a lot of like, hell yeah, Diafault, blah blah blah. Right? She's everybody loves her, and starts like, who's this? And Diafault, this is one of the other Hex girls. This is Lyra. I'm teaching her how to game. She's my understudy. Be nice, or I'll ban you. And they're like trying, like they start trying to show off for you, like they start trying to get into your point of view, right? So they can like show off. They start getting into your camera, right?
She will definitely like nudge. She doesn't quite get that she can actually just talk to them and they'll hear her. So she's gonna like nudge Diafault whenever she sees one that's actually pretty good and say, that one there, you got that one. Tell them they have done well. I especially enjoy that.
They can hear you.
Very oblivious.
They're like they're delighted. The fans are delighted that you're praising them, and Diafault's just acknowledging they can hear you. They can hear you right now, Lyra. And then one of them turns and just shoots you. Just hits you with a PPC and takes out your arm, like just right there, point blank.
You did not tell me that your friends were dogs.
Oh no! Please don't have a heated gamer moment on my Twitch, Lyra.
She like curses, like just like fucking like all you can make out is like Suko like 6 times. It's just finally like when she's not mad anymore. She hands
Do you just blow that guy up? Do you just shoot him a bunch?
Yes, like she respawns, immediately finds this dude, and just cores him out from behind. Like she takes out like one of his legs. And then just immediately gets as close as she can and just like fucking like pours him out.
She's elated. She's like, so see, now you're having fun. Also, oh, that poor guy.
You see, I understand a little bit why you like this, but it's very strange to me because I have destroyed a mech, right? Mm-hmm. But there is no way to incorporate into the songs someone who has not died.
He's dead. You could look. It says killed right here on the top of the thing.
Yes, but it's not. Have you ever had something and it was sweet, but the taste is vanishing?
Like artificial sugar. Yeah. I'm gonna turn off this voice chat, folks. I'll be back. And she just like turns off your headset, but yeah, keeps talking to you.
It's like that. In battle, when you are in mech, and you defeat your enemy, and he is dashed before you, he is gone, but he is not gone, for he is now part of the song which you will sing. He is immortal in the sense that he is now in your song, but he has, how do you say, gone. He is now, being that he is dead, he is no longer. You have achieved something in the sense that you have melded the world as being like iron, yes? And you have melted it into a different image. You have achieved a work. Even if it is a kind of violent work, it is not a gentle or necessarily even kind thing, but it is a definite thing which one has accomplished. I can understand it because it is like wrestling on the training field. One has not actually defeated your enemy in a way that he will die, but you do claim victory, and it is exhilarating. It's fun.
Oh yeah, you hurt,
but
like
with
you
mech,
ego,
the
right?
The dying is the dying in a strange way, is a kind of spice that makes mech combat so unique. Or at least, she rolls her eyes a lot. I mean, when one is not in what they call the more civilized sphere.
Diafault smirks and says, "Yeah, I mean, okay, you're kind of talking my language here. Let me make sure I got this correct. Also, yeah, you do kill them. You win, like you beat their ego, right? Yeah, they're not dead, but okay, so then that's a good thing anyway. But all right, so you're basically sending a message by doing this. Like you're expressing yourself in battle. It's expression. It's a message. You're doing like you're playing a part out with everybody else you're fighting. I get it. That's interesting. My question, I guess, is, I mean, this hypothetical person that you've defeated in mech combat. One, how does he die? And two, he has no control over the song you sing about him. What if you just decide a bunch of rude stuff? What if you're like, this dude sucked, you know, his dick was small, whatever, right?
Well, I'm baffled. Why, I'm almost not sure which one to say first or second, but I will say second first. I suppose I could, but in doing so, not only would I dishonor his memory and dishonor the story and the song of his life, but I would also have vulgarized my own. And trying to have final victory, I would have in fact ensured my own final defeat. I would have become the lesser. My song, when sung, the one I would sing before my comrades, drunken or sober, would be inherently less. When you memorize a verse that is not worthy of being sung, then it is a bad song, no?
I guess. But they're, like, diss songs are pretty
popular.
popular.
This way.
Well, there's a
think
whole...
of it this way. If you defeat someone who is no good, then of course you defeat it. No one is impressed if you defeat a child. If you defeat a great warrior, then you have proven your own might and your own mettle. So, demeaning one's opponent, to call them names or such things, in fact, only makes your own glory the lesser.
Wow. Okay, that makes a lot of sense. So, in theory, you could, like utterly crush a complete chump, but you would still talk about, like, how the ways in which they were good. You'd even make stuff up if they were utterly hopeless, because it's a reflection on you.
Of course. Well, if they were utterly helpless, if they were truly utterly hopeless, then I would probably do what I could to even the odds. If I am fighting someone whose mech is, terrible, then I am probably not going to use my heavy weapons, because that seems a little, it's like punching a child. You don't do that. I mean, hell, I'd rather be crushed underneath its foot than do that. At least then my story will be interesting.
I see that. Okay, but that doesn't answer the first question. But that does answer the second question, and that's cool. I like that you honor them. You know, these rascals, these scoundrels on the internet could learn something from you about being more civil, so to speak. Different kind of civil.
You are civil afterwards. Talking shit about the enemy is the time-honored tradition of all fighters, and there is no reason not to. In fact, it is somewhat almost rude not to insult the parentage and also, piloting skills, and even if one must, the genitalia of one's opponent, because, well, it just isn't the same without it. But not afterwards.
Yeah, I think if I were to diss on somebody, I shouldn't have actually said that. I shouldn't have said their dick was small. It's okay to have a small dick. I guess, like, they sip from a sippy cup. They're a baby. You make fun of them that way.
Yes, I understand. It is it is understandable. It is actually rather fun, rather fun. It is a kind of I have heard it on the world. I have visited once. They called it the dozens, right? It's kind of like that. It is a sort of wordplay. It is expressions of one's own confidence. But but you seem to be confused about the dying.
Yeah. So like the mechs won't shoot somebody when they're in critical condition. They're programmed not to. Not that I've tried. I know that they don't. Like you're told that they don't. So if you pull the trigger on somebody who's in critical condition, the mech won't even fire unless you do it manually. And also, if you do blow them up, the seats just fling them out.
So, like, up until this point, like, Lyra's mostly been enjoying this conversation. Like, this has been very stimulating. She's having fun. Like, she enjoys hanging out with, you know, people and, like, figuring out their weird shit. That is different. She looks, by the time you get to the end of that sentence, she's actively horrified. Like, you... Oh my god. Give me a moment.
Diafault's so confused,
saying,
but yeah, go on.
you think that... Okay, so, when the mech explodes, what do you think happens?
I've seen the ejection seat. It activates automatically once you do enough damage to blow up the mech. And the pilot inside the mech is automatically injected. It's hard-coded into every mech.
Child, where did you grow up?
I grew up in boundless space. Why?
She just, like, covers her eyes and sort of like, okay. That is true in Boundless, yes? It is true.
Yeah.
They are coded. I have heard as much. I have actually fought a couple of them. It's why it's easy to destroy Boundless mechs. They just sort of pop like a wine bottle eventually. You tap them hard and they go poof. But I don't know how to explain this to you because it is like explaining how air works, but that is not how mechs work in other places all the time.
It's in every mech, right? That like
No.
not just on Varna, not just in Boundless Space. It's like everywhere. Every mech is like that.
Do you remember when we were Blair?
Yes.
And those shambly mechs, right?
Mm-hmm. The garbies, the trash, the garbage days. Yeah.
Yeah, the little garbage cans. Yes.
Yeah.
They are kind of. They were very weird. They were sad. Or the little buggies, right?
Yeah. The little zoomies. Yeah.
Those are not hardwired. That doesn't exist in a lot of places. It is quote unquote supposed to. It is what is expected. But when you have a polite society, it only exists among the people who get to be a part of your society. So where you are not, it is also not. So when those mechs exploded, one of them might have ejected in time. It is not impossible. I have done it myself, but you have to actually pull the lever.
Diafault blanks like, no, it's automatic.
You know.
It's automatic everywhere. Lyra, it's automatic everywhere. It's automatic in your mech. If I shot your mech and exploded it right now, the seat would pop out.
Well, actually, it was supposed to, because the mech I have now is not my old mech, and it was produced in the more like civilized places, but quote unquote there, I hate that word. But I disabled it. Mine is manual. I don't like how quickly they eject you. Maybe it's just me, obviously, but I that was new and I did not like it.
No, Lyra, you have to put it back. You got no. What if you die? I didn't even think you could do that. I heard it was impossible.
Child, it is very possible. You you're on a ship with. See, when you look around you, all of these people have definitely killed at least a couple of people, and I. It is kind of dawning on Lyra at this point that like she thought that this was so like she thought the whole like they're not really killing people thing was an elaborate joke. She genuinely thought it was some kind of weird ass like fucking boundless joke she didn't get that was like 3D chessing her, and it is now occurring to her that Diafault has just not actually accepted that a bunch of people fucking die when their mechs blow up.
Yep.
And what and like in sort of neutral space a lot of the time. And she's just kind of like genuinely does not know how to say this, and she just kind of sputters for a bit. It's
no, Lyra, when they're just androids. When they're people sized, that's not people. That's just androids full of goop for realism. And when they're in the mechs, the seats go every time. Sometimes I don't see it. I'm in the thick of battle. I gotta focus, but nobody dies. Wherever you're from, if people are actually dying, that's not okay.
That is a lot of places. Most of the places we have fought have not been in faction space. They've been in either neutral space or some kind of minor nation, or most of our missions have been in places where at least half of those vehicles definitely do not have that. Your dual culture, your culture of dueling has this idea that killing an opponent is beyond dishonor, to be actual murder. But in the spaces on the edge, on the periphery of your vision, which is a lot of places, with a lot of wars, most people think that downing a mech pilot who is already ejected is a bit inappropriate. But if they are in the mech when it explodes, well, the fortunes of war are often cruel, and that is just the way of things. When we fight people who are not really... Your mech is not actually programmed to do that. It's just human behavior that does that. Your mech is programmed to fire, or to punch, or to do what you say it to do. But people can die, and they do quite often. It is very common. It is about as common as, well, getting into a knife fight and someone getting hurt, which I have had many of. She pulls down her jumpsuit actually slightly, and she's got like scars on her. Like she's got a scar like just below her neck where somebody tried to get her. It's like you see, it is like this. It is very real when the knife is plunging down into you. It is going to hurt you. It does not matter that it is you on two people fighting each other. And much like a mech, if I am coming down upon it with a hammer and I hit it, I will definitely hit it for real. And if I hit a cockpit, then, well, you know.
That can't be true. Not here, not where we've been. It's mandatory. Maybe where you're from, people die. That's No, it couldn't have. Maybe when you did it, that you should... Don't breach civil duel culture! Lyra, you'll get shit-listed!
I think my entire culture is shit-listed, if that is what it is called, but I'm sure that it would be a problem for me if I lived in boundless space, or maybe in most of, let's say, the front, or whatever the delivery people are, but I don't actually live in any of those places, and I probably will not. So it will probably never matter.
No, what are you implying? That people like you are expendable? That you're like some kind of acceptable target? Because you're not. It's not okay.
I'm very sorry, child. I thought that it was some kind of elaborate joke that you were doing, or what it? Brim said it was called a bit, but I did not know that you did not know this. Everyone on this ship is what would be a quote unquote acceptable target once you're not inside of certain parts of space. Those people don't matter. To in the cities of Boundless, no one cares what happens on, say, Mikos or you know, Midas 3 or somewhere galactic north of there. It's just those places don't really exist. They don't matter. Who lives there?
No,
but scabs.
I care. They matter.
Right?
That you shouldn't just be throwing your life away. Nobody out here in our fights is throwing their life away. They're just joking. They're just fucking around. They're just expressing themselves. That's what I thought. They're just trying to do their thing. We're trying to do our thing. It's all a game.
It's like a lot of emotions going on in her face right now. Like, she wants to be mad, but this is so goddamn, like, tragic feeling that she doesn't, like, she can't even be mad about it. It's like, I do not know what to say to you, child. I should not be calling you that. Diafault. Because I cannot really call you a child. You've... In Glen Wolf, in my sept, when you have made your first kill, you are no longer a child. It's not important. It's... What is important is...
Wait, are you... Don't... By all means, keep calling me child. Do not imply that I've killed somebody in your mind.
Well, I mean... You killed quite a few. I believe your kill count on Blair was at least 2, correct?
Those are just destroyed vehicles. The people are fine.
Child, when you hit a vehicle with a shell that big, or a laser that powerful,
yeah, I don't have a laser.
There isn't.
Yeah.
Whatever you hit it with, or a godforsaken hammer, or a fist, not very many things can survive that. I mean, would you survive if I tossed a grenade into your lap and shut the door?
Not here, I wouldn't. If you did it here, you'd blow me up. But in the mech, the seat would just kick me out, and I'd be fine, and the mech would blow up, and then we print out another one, and we go back to business, and I get my revenge, just like you did in the game. You respawned, and you went and you shot him.
Those mechs don't have those. Those vehicles don't have those. Those would-be Reavers, they don't have that technology. They never bothered with it. I mean, maybe some of them have ejection systems, but those aren't automatic. And I don't think any of them actually were able to if they had them. I'm pretty sure they didn't. That kind of thing tends to be frowned upon in those kind of nomadic fleets as a sign of cowardice.
That doesn't make sense. Why would you
stick to your guns or you die?
Why would you want to die?
Well, you don't want to die, but you don't want to live in fear of dying.
That's what the seats are for, so you don't. So you can go all out without ever having to worry about it.
When you go into battle, do you remember when you said this idea of sort of the expression of yourself, right?
Yeah.
I cannot speak for all of the peoples of the peripheries, because they are very different. But we came to accept what was necessary in our way of life by understanding that life and death are like, they weigh as much as a feather. They happen quickly. They happen almost carelessly sometimes. One is born and frail and flesh, and then the next minute one is dying. An accident, and a disease, and one's met cockpit being hit with a autocannon. Many different ways, and they happen both very quickly, and they happen irrevocably. One has been alive even if one has died, and for us, what was more important than clinging to our lives at any cost was making sure that our lives were meaningful, that one had struggled in the arena of life, and the squared circle of existence, to have been a star out there among the deep was more important than whether or not one's body endured past 40. And sometimes it did, if one was strong, if one was capable. I may in fact see that myself, but I am less concerned with a number and more concerned about whether or not it has been worth it. And that is the only way I know how to be at peace with how quickly one can die and how quickly one can make others die. So yes, you've heard me before. I have sung the song of my battles many times, and when I do so, those people live again. They have not vanished from the galaxy. They live for my song. And when I am dead, my story and song shall be told again, even if it's not told in the way of my people. It shall live eternally in the man who has killed him. And he shall tell it, and I shall live again. And then so on and so forth. Mm-hmm. I know that is not how everyone deals with it, but it was always how we did.
First, Lyra, you do not have my permission to die. So please fucking fix your goddamn seat. But second, I'm streaming you all the time. They see you. Millions of people see you all the time. I'm singing your fucking song. Okay? But don't fucking die. And also, there's no way I've killed anybody. There's no way. It doesn't work like that. Not here. Where you are, that's your way, and I can't tell you how to be. I see why it be that way. I guess it sounds not cool. But that's your way, okay. But that isn't our way. We don't do that here. That's not here. There's no way, Lyra.
Lyra realizes this is probably not. She's not gonna be able to get through here. She's kind of like puts a hand on each, like on Diafault's shoulder and says, "Child, Diafault, I will make a promise to you. I will go back to Otto, but I will make sure that it does not eject me early, because I will not live with that dishonor. I would rather go out with an autocannon. I will carry an autocannon to battle on foot. If it does that to me, I swear to you. But I will talk to Bryn. He would be able to help me with that, or maybe I don't know. The one with the neck plug.
Sylvia or Isadora could probably calibrate it so that's not as sensitive.
I will promise you, I will do that, and I will not die. And she kind of winks. She's trying to be sort of like, cool order lady. Like, as long as you keep flying well, but I have to keep going. But when you figure out what battle is like, try not to do it alone. Okay? Will you promise, even if you don't believe me?
I'm part of the team, so I'm not doing this alone. So yeah, I guess I can. I hope I understand what you're asking me. Yeah, I'll stick with you. We're the Hex Girls.
That'll be our little joke. And she kind of she'll ruffle Diafault's hair and then she'll bail. Kind of in short order, because she's realized that she's gone way too far.
You almost got her to believe the truth. That's bad.
It's like, I'm not gonna fucking convince you, but oh my god, she will probably immediately after this send Bryn an urgent message of like, we have to fucking talk. Do you know about this shit? I thought this was a joke. Did you know this wasn't a joke?
Yeah, Diafault stands there, like, ruminating on this, and she puts her head in her hands and says, no, I haven't killed anybody. There's no way. And she just kind of has, like, crumples down on the floor. There's no way. None of us has killed anybody. Maybe Lyra, but she's from a killing place. And I guess that's where we'll end this scene.